Heartwarming encounter, single mechanic stops to help officer and uncovers an unexpected, life-changing opportunity. Jake Sullivan leaned against the hood of a dusty pickup truck, wiping his grease-stained hands on an equally sullied rag. It was getting late in Maplewood, and the sky looked like someone had spilled paint everywhere. A stunning mix of orange and violet. He had long hours at the garage, but it was worth it for the giggles of his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, who was the light of his life. He wanted so much for her future, a better one than he had struggled to provide. Just as he was about to head home, he spotted a familiar blue and white police car idling awkwardly by the roadside. Officer Martinez was outside it, fidgeting with a flat tire, heart racing with a sense of purpose. Jake swerved to the side of the road. His dad always said, "Be a good neighbor." That was all the motivation Jake needed. He jumped out, urgency in his step. "Need a hand, officer?" Jake called, his voice cutting through the cool evening air. "Wouldn't say no," Officer Martinez replied, his brow furrowed in frustration. This darn thing just wouldn't cooperate. As they worked shoulder to shoulder, the two men shared more than just a tire change. Beneath the laughter and the occasional grunt of effort, Jake voiced his dreams of raising Lily to be strong and smart, while Officer Martinez talked candidly about his transition back to civilian life after years of service. The heaviness in his voice weighed on Jake. This was a man trying to navigate a different kind of struggle. Yet here they were, bonding over 4 rusted bolts and a punctured rubber tire. "So, what are your plans, Jake?" Martinez asked after a few moments of comforting silence. "You seem driven." Tapping a wrench against his thigh, Jake sighed. "Just trying to make a decent life for my girl. School's getting expensive, you know." To his surprise, Officer Martinez's eyes lit up. "You ever hear of the scholarship program I run for folks in your situation? It can help with education costs." Jake felt a flicker of hope ignite. A chance to give Lily a brighter future. A weight lifted off his chest. Something felt different tonight. "I'd be interested," he admitted, heart hammering with possibilities. But as soon as that spark lit, shadows of doubt crept in. He couldn't shake the whispers of the community, dark murmurs about his past and rumors of his worth. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But that night, as he tucked Lily into bed, Jake felt pressure in his chest the moment she asked why he seemed so different lately. He tried to brush it off, but her innocent eyes were piercing through him. A rift was forming between them, fueled by long hours and rising tension. Just as hope began to feel elusive, an upcoming public event in town buzzed with potential. A chance for Jake to confront not only his own fears, but also the judgment of his community. As doubt swirled in his mind, and tension loomed large, it would be challenging for him to find resolution. Would he find a way to bridge the gap between him and Lily? As doubts crept in, anticipation filled the air in Maplewood. The stage was set for a turning point, a moment where Jake's resilience would be pushed to its limit. But could he rise to meet it, or would the weight of his own fears pull him under? Jake stood in front of the mirror, tracing the lines on his face with his fingers. The sleepless nights had etched shadows under his eyes, and he was unsure if they were from worry or just the weight of his responsibilities. His reflection stared back, a man caught between hope and despair. The thought of the upcoming public event filled him with a mix of excitement and dread. What if he couldn't manage to pull himself together? He glanced over at the clock. It was almost time to pick Lily up from school. The thought of her running towards him, arms wide and eyes sparkling, was the only fuel he needed to keep moving. She was his motivation, his heart in human form. He took a deep breath and stepped toward the door. When Jake arrived at school, there she was, waiting by the gate with her vibrant pink backpack and a small smile that could light up the darkest days. As she saw him, her face broke into a beaming smile, and she raced toward him. "Daddy!" she squealed, jumping into his arms. "Hey there, Pumpkin!" he responded, squeezing her tightly. In that moment, all his worries seemed to fade away. "How was your day?" he asked, ruffling her hair. "I got a gold star! Mrs. Carter said I'm the best reader in class!" Lily beamed with pride, her excitement bubbling over. "That's amazing! I knew you could do it," he said, feeling a warmth spread in his chest. As they walked towards home, Jake felt the familiar pressure of reality creeping back in. He needed to figure out how to prepare for the event. Was he really ready to face everyone? The town council, his neighbors. Could they ever see him in a new light? Lily's laughter as they played hopscotch on the pavement distracted him. But soon, her laughter intermingled with his thoughts. What if she saw the fear creeping behind his eyes? What if he didn't live up to the aspirations he had for her? Once they got home, Jake found himself distracted, lost in thought while Lily colored at the kitchen table. She chattered on about her friends and school, but he barely heard her. Instead, the words of Officer Martinez echoed in his mind. "You're driven." Maybe it was time to embrace that drive. As dusk settled over Maplewood, Jake felt a spark of determination ignite within him. He joined Lily at the table, picking up a crayon and drawing alongside her. "What are you drawing, sweetheart?" "A unicorn," she exclaimed, eyes gleaming. He chuckled and began to draw a simple horse next to her unicorn. "Looks like I'm going to need a few magical tips." Lily leaned over, showing him how to add sparkles to the horse. Any fear that had gripped him started to release, replaced by a joy that reminded him of what was truly important. But as they finished their drawings, Jake's thoughts turned back to the event. What if this was his chance? A moment to show not just the town, but himself that he could change, could rebuild their lives together. That night, as Lily fell asleep beside him, Jake found himself once again staring at the ceiling. The sound of her soft breathing filled the room, a soothing reminder of what he had to fight for. The challenge ahead loomed large, and doubt still echoed in the corners of his mind. As he drifted off to sleep, a singular thought surged through him. If he could muster the courage to face his fears head-on, perhaps that would be the first step to healing. Little did he know, the public event would bring an unexpected twist, the kind that could shift the course of their lives forever. Would he be ready for it, or would he allow his past to overshadow his future? The morning of the event arrived, the air tinged with a buzz of excitement and dread. Jake woke to find Lily already up, bouncing on the bed. Her laughter filled the room, pure and electric. She didn't seem to notice his worry, her faith in him wrapped around her like a protective cloak. "Daddy, are you going to wear your nice shirt today?" she asked, her eyes sparkling. "Of course. Can't impress the crowd in sweatpants," he chuckled, attempting to mask his nervousness. After a quick breakfast, eggs and toast, just the way she liked it, they got ready. Lily picked out a little dress, swirling around to show it off. "I want to look like a princess," she said, striking a pose that made Jake laugh. "Then you fully achieved it." He lifted her up and twirled her, causing peals of laughter to echo through their small home. As they made their way to the community center, Jake's heart beat faster with each step. He gripped the steering wheel tight, the weight of his past pressing heavily against his chest. He couldn't shake off the feeling that everyone would look at him and see his mistakes, his failures. But Lily, blissfully unaware of his inner turmoil, filled the car with stories of her imaginary adventures, and he found solace in her innocence. Arriving at the community center, a crowd greeted them, a mixture of neighbors, friends, and those he hadn't spoken to since everything changed. The energy was infectious, but Jake's palms started to sweat. "You ready, Pumpkin?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Ready as a unicorn in a rainbow," she declared, opening the car door and jumping out with unbridled enthusiasm. He took a deep breath and followed her, squaring his shoulders. The room was alive with chatter, a mix of excitement and anticipation. People waved, smiled, and exchanged pleasantries, but Jake felt the weight of scrutiny. He caught snippets of conversations, the murmurs about his past floating through the air like whispers of a ghost haunting him. "Look, it's Jake," one neighbor called out. "He's back." The familiar face came up to him, and for a moment, he was flooded with memories, both good and bad. "Hey man, it's great to see you here." The man clapped him on the back. Jake forced a smile, but the compliment felt like a challenge. Lily wandered off, holding a friend's hand, her laughter blending into the background noise, and Jake felt disconnected. He scanned the room for a moment, unsure of how to mingle. Suddenly, a booming voice called for attention. "Thank you all for coming. Tonight we'll discuss our plans for the town and we have a surprise guest. You might remember Jake from way back when." The microphone crackled, intensifying the moment. The spotlight shifted to him, hearts pounding, and he felt every eye on him. He wanted to shrink back, hide, but he couldn't. Not with Lily looking up at him, her eyes full of trust. Stepping forward felt like stepping into the unknown. The crowd hushed, waiting. Jake swallowed hard, feeling the pulse of the moment. Hi everyone. He stammered, and the weight of his past seemed to drain him of words. But then he saw Lily, her cheeks flushed with pride, and a steady resolve settled in him. "I want to thank you all for your support, and I've realized something. I can't change what's happened, but I can work on who I am today." The words, though simple, felt like a lifeline thrown into troubled waters. But what he didn't expect was for someone from the back to shout, "You're a hero!" And suddenly the room erupted in applause. Jake blinked, heart racing, caught off guard by the reaction. Was this the turning point he needed? And in that moment, the crowd's energy buzzed, lifting him higher than he thought possible. Yet, amid the applause, a shadow flickered across his mind. A familiar face from the past stood in the back, and Jake wondered if this would be a moment of salvation or igniting a fire he wasn't ready to face. Will Jake embrace his new chance, or will the echoes of his past pull him back? The applause thundered in his ears, a wave of unexpected energy washing over him. Jake felt the warmth of the crowd's acceptance, but the figure at the back of the room loomed in his mind like an intruder. As he clutched the microphone, the applause faded into a dull murmur, replaced by the pounding of his heart, each beat echoing doubts he had tried to suppress. "Thank you," he finally managed, the words spilling from his mouth as if they were the only lifebuoy in a raging ocean. "Thank you so much for this, for being here." His gaze drifted toward Lily, who beamed as if she had just been crowned the queen of her kingdom. "Daddy, you're amazing," she called out, her innocence a stark contrast to the storm swirling inside him. He smiled, but it felt wobbly, like a tightrope walker just a step away from losing balance. He knew this moment was for Lily, to prove to her that he could be the father she believed him to be. Yet, what if he faltered? What if the shadows from his past rose up, dragging him back down? A buzzing tension wrapped around him as murmurs broke out in the crowd. He caught snippets of conversation, some supportive, others tinged with skepticism. Two women in the front whispered, glancing in his direction, their expressions unreadable. He took a stuttering breath, forcing himself to push through the discomfort. "Change takes time," he said, trying to steady his voice. "But it starts with facing who we are." The crowd seemed to re-engage, the energy shifting back toward encouragement. Jake let the moment lift him. "I want to do right by all of you, and especially for my beautiful daughter." He gestured toward Lily, her heart-shaped face glowing. Unexpectedly, feedback screeched through the mic as the crowd clapped again. A sense of hope began to fill him. Maybe, just maybe, this was his chance, his second act. But as he turned to step back, that familiar face in the shadows caught his eye again. It was Caleb, the one person from his past he had wanted to avoid showing up today. Caleb had been his closest friend, a brother in arms, but their bond had shattered when life decisions diverged. Jake's heart quickened. What on earth was he doing here? Feeling a mixture of dread and curiosity, Jake's fingers tightened around the microphone. I see some familiar faces, and it makes me hopeful, he continued, glancing nervously back at Caleb. There's a community here that can stand strong together. As he spoke, Caleb's expression hardened. Their eyes met briefly, a flicker of understanding passing between them. It unsettled Jake, turning his stomach. Would Caleb want to tear down the little hope Jake had built? Or could they find a common ground? Lily, ever the spark of light, tugged on his shirt, pulling him away from the weight of his thoughts. Daddy, can we dance? She squealed, her delight infectious. Dance? He asked, scanning the crowd. Music began to play softly in the background, initiating the guests into a gentle sway. Please, she begged, her eyes glimmering. With a deep breath, Jake smiled and took her small hand, leading her to the makeshift dance floor. As they swayed to the rhythm, he felt the warmth of the moment, the joy radiating between them. The worries faded, if only for that heartbeat, and he lost himself in Lily's laughter. But the moment was fleeting, as Jake felt Caleb's eyes burning into his back. What was he going to say? The question loomed like a dark cloud threatening to pour rain. Would this evening lead to reconciliation? Or would the past burst forth, threaten to ruin everything he'd worked so hard to build? What's going to happen when Jake confronts his past? Will he find the strength to move on, or will it consume him? The song filled the air, creating a bubble of warmth around Jake and Lily. They danced, spinning slowly while laughter rang like bells. In that moment, the weight of his past felt lighter, almost insubstantial. But as he looked out at the crowd, he could still feel Caleb's gaze heavy upon him. It was an anchor, tied to all the things Jake wanted to leave behind. Daddy, you're the best dancer, Lily exclaimed, giggling and spinning away from him before running back to his open arms. Her energy buzzed like electricity, and Jake felt himself drawn into her joy, momentarily pushing away the anxiety creeping at the edges of his mind. Yet, just as he reveled in her happiness, the strains of an ambient anthem faded, and Caleb stepped forward from the shadows. It felt as if he was stepping into the spotlight, his presence suddenly consuming the space around them. Jake, he called out, voice steady but strained. A hush fell over the crowd, whispers skimming like whispers on the wind. Jake's heart raced. He hadn't expected this. Definitely not now, not here. He felt Lily tighten her grip, her innocent excitement replaced with concern. Hey, Caleb, Jake managed to reply, forcing a smile that felt more like a reflex than sincere joy. The memories of their shared laughter, their camaraderie, all contrasted sharply with the distance that had grown between them. I wanted to say... Caleb paused, the crowd watching his every move, anticipation thrumming in the air. I'm proud of you for getting up there. I know it couldn't have been easy. Jake's brow furrowed. Was this a peace offering? He scanned Caleb's face for any hint of deception, but found none. Just a quiet intensity, the kind that might suggest regret. Thanks, Jake muttered, unsure if he was ready to take that olive branch. Lily tugged at his shirt again, her voice a sweet reminder of their simple world. Can we keep dancing, Daddy? Of course, sweetheart. He smiled at her, and she spun away, her laughter releasing more of the tension that had formed around him like a cocoon. But Caleb remained, an island in a sea of movement. I want to talk, about everything. Jake's heart sank. This was not what he wanted tonight. Not with all the people around, not under all this scrutiny. His resolve felt fragile, like glass beneath a heavy foot. Not now, man, he said, shaking his head slightly. Can't we do this later? Caleb's eyes narrowed, the urgency in his voice cutting through the music. I really think it's important. We can't keep ignoring what happened between us. I need you to know. Not here, Jake interrupted, voice rising slightly as he took a step forward, inches from Caleb. My daughter is here. This is about her, not about whatever we had back then. The crowd watched, tension crackling like electricity in the air. A few faces looked on with sympathy, others held judgment. Jake felt exposed, the remnants of his past threatening to claw back into the moment he'd built for Lily. Just give me a chance to explain, to make things right. Caleb pressed, but the desperation made Jake's pulse race faster. Right now, I'm only focused on being the father she needs. Jake's determination surfaced, sharp as glass. He reached for Lily, who had paused, her big eyes darting between the two men. Can you see that? I'm finally getting it right. Caleb's expression softened at that, but his next words were swallowed by the music. Jake turned back to Lily, gathering her into his arms, desperate to shield her from whatever storm was brewing between them. As their feet moved to the rhythm once more, Jake felt that familiar tightness in his chest. They could only dance in the light of this moment for so long before the darkness closed in. Would Caleb give up, or unleash more ghosts from their shared past? Would Jake have to choose between his daughter's happiness and a fractured friendship? The music pulsed on, and in the depths of Jake's heart, questions spun like a whirlwind. What was he willing to face to keep the promise he made to himself and to Lily? Lily's laughter filled the air again, a sweet melody that wrapped around Jake like a lifeline. He spun her in circles, pretending they were flying. With each turn, he pushed Caleb's looming figure further back into the corners of his mind. This moment, drenched in the warmth of her joy, was what he had fought for. Yet the tension didn't dissipate. It lingered like fog, curling around him as the music shifted once more. The lively beat darkened into a slower tune, echoing the pulse of Jake's heart as he stole glances at Caleb. The crowd was still watching, a sea of eyes that shifted between admiration for Lily's antics and curiosity about the standoff. Each patient smile from the onlookers stung, a reminder that there was no escaping the past. Daddy, do you think Uncle Caleb will dance with us? Lily asked, her tiny voice cutting through his fog of thoughts. She was blissfully unaware of the undercurrent swirling between them. Jake hesitated, searching his mind for an answer that wouldn't sting, one that wouldn't crush Lily's spirit. Maybe another time, sweetie. Right now, let's just enjoy ourselves, okay? He felt a pang of guilt, knowing the weight of unspoken words would inevitably fall on her someday. Caleb took a step closer, his eyes searching Jake's, desperate for a response. You can't just ignore me. I know you're protecting her, but pretending this doesn't exist. It's not fair to any of us. The urgency in his voice sent a rush of heat through Jake. Fair? You think this is about fair? He felt the tension wrap tighter around him. I've fought hard to pull my life together. All I want is to keep her safe from the chaos we left behind. Lily's head tilted in confusion, her joyful spirit dimming slightly as she caught the tension. You can be friends again, right? Jake's heart sank. How could he explain the complexities of loyalty and the scars that didn't just fade? He forced a grin, shaking his head lightly. We're working on it, Flower. Just give us some time. Time. Caleb sighed, the word rolling off his tongue like a forgotten melody. Jake, sometimes time doesn't heal things. It just makes pain easier to bear. Jake felt the weight of Caleb's words settle in the air, heavy and potent. The truth in them stung. It was one thing to find solace in his new role as a father, but another entirely to ignore the past that still gnawed at him. You don't get it. I can't risk dragging her back into whatever mess we had. Caleb watched him, frustration etched on his features, yet something else flickered behind his eyes. Longing, perhaps, I just want you to know that I've changed too, he said, quiet but firm. I'm not the same guy from before. Jake didn't trust the words, not yet. Could Caleb really be different? Could they both be different? His heart battled against the idea of reconnecting with the boy who had once been his best friend, torn by paths they had taken that led them away from each other. "Hey!" a friend from the crowd called out, breaking the tension. "Let's not lose momentum. Who's ready to dance?" A small cheer erupted around them, and Jake's instincts kicked in. He scooped Lily up into his arms, spinning her once more. As she giggled, lost in her world, Jake felt a push of determination surge through him. Despite the turmoil, he wouldn't let his daughter feel the shadows of their past. Not here, not now. But deep down, amidst the laughter and the rhythm, Jake couldn't ignore the question still brewing. Could he truly find a way to let Caleb back into his life without jeopardizing Lily's happiness? Suddenly, the music softened again, and Lily rested her head against his shoulder, sleepy but happy. Jake glanced back at Caleb, who stared just a moment too long, pain mingling with hope. Could they find a way to bridge the gap? Or would Caleb's presence mean facing demons better left buried? As the dance continued, Jake felt restless. Not just for him, but for the future he desperately wanted to protect. The night wasn't over yet, and the unspoken tensions loomed larger than ever. The question hung heavy in the air. When would it all come crashing down? Jake held Lily close, his heart racing as the last notes of the song faded into a murmur. The warmth of her small body against his brought him some comfort, but it was tinged with anxiety. He dared another glance at Caleb, who stood frozen a few feet away, the light from the dance floor casting shadows across his face. Every passing moment felt like a countdown, filled with silent questions. Jake could see Caleb grappling with his own thoughts, the familiar flicker of vulnerability breaking through his tough exterior. It reminded Jake of the carefree days when they had both been young and full of dreams, before everything had fractured. "Why don't you go grab some punch, sweetheart?" Jake suggested to Lily, knowing her energy would be depleted soon. "Daddy will be right here." "Can I get a cupcake too?" Lily's eyes sparkled with excitement, the promise of sugar bringing back her glow. "Absolutely. Go on. Be quick." He watched as she bounded towards a nearby table. Once she was out of earshot, Jake faced Caleb fully. "What do you want from me?" The words came out sharper than he intended. "I want a chance," Caleb replied, his voice steady, but urgency seeped through. "To show you I've changed, that I'm not here to bring more chaos." Jake's breath hitched at the intensity behind Caleb's gaze. He thought of the nights spent questioning their choices, how those choices had rippled through their lives like rocks tossed into a pond. "Do you even understand what you put me through?" Caleb's shoulders slumped. "You think I don't know?" "Jake, I lost everything too. I'm not trying to erase the past, but I can't change it without you. I want you to see. I'm trying." The sincerity in Caleb's eyes almost broke through Jake's defenses, but fear held him back. "So you expect everything to just be fine because you say so?" "No." Caleb shook his head, frustration evident. "I'm asking for the chance to make it better. For Lily. I can't just stand on the sidelines anymore. I want to be part of your lives." Jake ran a hand through his hair, the weight of the moment pressing heavily on him. "You think it's that easy? Inviting you back in? We can't just pick up where we left off." Lily returned, balancing a colorful paper plate filled with cupcakes. Her little giggle broke the tension like sunlight piercing through dark clouds. "Look what I got! Can we have a cupcake party?" She beamed at both men, innocent of the storm brewing around them. Jake managed a smile, watching her excitement bloom. But internally he felt trapped, torn between protecting his daughter and the growing urge to confront the past. The thought sent a wave of nausea through him. Caleb knelt to meet Lily's eye level, a soft smile warming his face. Hey, that looks delicious. Mind if I join the party? Lily nodded vigorously, clearly thrilled. For a moment, Jake saw a glimpse of the past, a long-lost bond rekindling in unexpected ways. Jealousy and resentment flickered dangerously within him, but he remained silent. As they shared cupcakes and laughter, Jake's heart raced. Was he being too hard on Caleb? Could there be a future where they could all coexist? Before he finished the thought, Lily leaned in closer, whispering conspiratorially, "Daddy, do you think Uncle Caleb can come over for movie night?" Just then, every bit of Jake's resolve shook. Was he really ready to dive back into this tangled web? The question loomed larger than ever in that moment, too loud to ignore. Could one cupcake party lead to something beautiful, or would it unravel into loss once more? The night was far from over, and in that dance of uncertain moments, he felt the turning point approaching. Jake watched as Lily's eyes glimmered with hope. She was asking for something simple, maybe even innocent. A movie night. It tugged at his heart, made him want to give her everything. But could he really bridge the gap between the past and this hopeful new moment? Caleb glanced at him, searching for some signal, some indication that Jake might be leaning toward saying yes. But Jake kept his expression unreadable. He could hear the soft thrum of the music behind them, a dizzying backdrop to the chaos in his mind. "Let's just focus on tonight," Jake said finally, trying to sidestep the decision for now. "How about a dance before we finish off those cupcakes?" Lily squealed with delight, taking his hand and pulling him toward the dance floor. Jake stole one last look at Caleb, who yet again wore that mix of hope and uncertainty. But Jake couldn't think about that now. He needed to focus on his daughter. As they danced, Lily spun in circles, her laughter mingling with the upbeat music, her carefree energy washing over Jake's tensions like a balm. He twirled her around, her giggles filling the space between them, pushing the dread further away. The moment was fleeting, but beautiful. Each line of worry on Jake's face faded just a little as he watched Lily lose herself in the joy of the music. She was so deeply in the moment, so unburdened. He wished he could protect her from all the complications life could throw their way. But back on the edge of the dance floor, Caleb lingered. Every now and then, Jake stole a glance. Each time he felt a twist in his stomach. The more joy he saw in Lily, the more he felt Caleb's eyes searing into him, expecting something, anything. When the song ended, Jake knelt down and caught Lily in a hug, her soft hair brushing against his cheek. "Okay, Cupcake Queen, should we head back to the snack table?" "Yes, and I want to show Uncle Caleb my favorite frosting," Lily exclaimed, dashing ahead. Jake stood and looked at Caleb, who took a step forward. "You're really good with her," Caleb said. "You've done a great job." Jake felt a surge of pride and a shiver of resentment. "I had to. I didn't have a choice," he replied, the sharpness creeping back into his voice. Caleb searched his face, trying to find common ground. "I'm not asking for your forgiveness, Jake. Just a chance to be part of, the future. With both of you." Swallowing hard, Jake turned away, watching Lily select her favorite cupcake with hands covered in icing. "What future, Caleb? You think it's that easy to just walk in here and smile at us like nothing ever happened?" "I'm not pretending, I swear," Caleb said, desperation creeping into his tone. "I can't change that past, but I can be here, if you'd let me." Jake's mind was racing, torn between anger, fear, and a flicker of hope. Could Caleb really be different this time? And what would that mean for Lily? Beneath the laughter and glittering lights, a storm was brewing in him. "Okay," Jake finally said, almost as if he were testing the waters. "But we take this slow, for Lily's sake." Caleb nodded, eyes bright with renewed hope. "Slow sounds good. I can do slow." Just as they exchanged tentative promises, Jake felt a wave of unease wash over him. What did this new beginning mean? Could it hold more joy, or would the past rear its ugly head once more? Just then, he noticed Lily's cupcake was far too big for her tiny hands. She was struggling to keep it from toppling over. "Whoa there, cupcake queen!" Jake rushed to help, but in that split second, he realized he had taken one step toward a new path, with all its dangers and delights ahead. It left him wondering, was the past ever truly behind, or did it merely wait for the right moment to return? The chaotic laughter and chatter of the party swirled around Jake as he balanced Lily's oversized cupcake in one hand and pulled her close with the other. He watched her face light up with delight as she smeared frosting on her nose, the small act easing the tension that had settled heavily in his chest. "Now that's my cupcake queen," Jake teased, chuckling as she giggled and wiped her frosting-laden fingers on her dress. It was a small moment of joy, yet it anchored him in the present, reminding him what was truly important. But as the minutes passed, a shadow lingered over Jake's heart. Each time he caught Caleb's gaze, that flicker of expectation gnawed at him. He wasn't sure if he wanted to accept the possible consequences of letting Caleb into their lives, especially with memories of what had been slipping through his mind like sand. Just as he thought he had pushed the past back into the dark, it seemed insistent on resurfacing. "Daddy, can I get sprinkles?" Lily twirled, her hands outstretched like a dancer waiting for their cue. The sheer joy on her face was enough to momentarily dissolve the weight on Jake's shoulders. "Of course, Pumpkin. Just a few sprinkles." He pointed her toward the table lined with confectionery delights. Watching her skip away, he felt a sense of pride surge through him. He had poured every ounce of love he could into raising her, shaping her into this happy, vibrant girl. As he stood for a moment, lost in thought, Caleb stepped closer, eyes wide with hope. "You've done great with her, Jake. I mean it. She's incredible." There was sincerity in Caleb's voice that Jake couldn't ignore, a small flicker of the man he once thought he knew. "You really think so?" Jake asked, the truth slipping back in through the cracks of his tough exterior. "Definitely," Caleb answered softly, a dreamlike quality overtaking him. "I want to be there for both of you. I don't want to miss any more of her life." Jake turned back to watch Lily again. She was laughing as she carefully loaded her cupcake with colored sprinkles, fully immersed in her world of sugary bliss. Caleb's words reverberated in his mind. The thought of Caleb being there, sharing moments like this, made Jake's insides twist and turn. "You might have missed a lot, Caleb. It's not that easy to just step back in." Jake's voice faded as the noise of the room rose. Lily's laughter and the warm atmosphere enveloped him, but there was still fear lurking underneath. "Easy doesn't change the fact that I want this, Jake. I want to make things right," Caleb said, his voice steady. But Jake wasn't so sure that a few words could erase the damage time had done. Suddenly there was a crash near the punch bowl, breaking the moment and drawing both of their attention. A couple of kids had collided in a race for the best sweets, and bright red punch spilled all over the floor, a fiery stain across the cheerful decor. Lily squealed with laughter at the antics, her carefree spirit shining through the fleeting chaos. Jake felt a tiny crack in his guarded heart as he glanced back at Caleb. "See?" Jake said, half smiling, half concerned about what consequences might come next. "Life is messy, just like that punch. Sometimes things spill over." Caleb nodded, his gaze not leaving Jake's face. "And sometimes you need to mop it up together." A silence settled between them. The laughter echoed in the background, yet Jake felt a cautious hope stirring, as if maybe, just maybe, their past didn't have to dictate the future. He opened his mouth to respond when Lily bounded back, sprinkles adorning her cheeks, and held up her masterpiece proudly. "Look, Daddy, isn't it the coolest?" Jake's heart swelled again. In that moment, he knew Lily deserved every chance for happiness and love, and perhaps forgiveness, if only it could be found. Lily's joy held the key to something greater, something both terrifying and beautiful. As Caleb smiled at them, Jake's thoughts raced with possibilities. What if he did let Caleb in? What if he didn't? Would this dance of hope and fear send them spiraling into familiar territory, or lead to something promising? The answer danced just out of reach, lingering like the sweet scent of frosting in the air, and Jake couldn't shake the feeling that whatever would happen next, it would change everything. As the party continued, Jake felt the pulse of the moment surround him. Laughter echoed against the walls, children darted around in a satin blur, and as the sweet smell of frosting swirled in the air, he felt warmth settle in his heart. He gripped Lily's hand tightly, the laughter of children mixing with the melody of his hopes and fears. "What do you want to watch first for movie night?" he asked, kneeling down to meet her eye to eye. Her face lit up with excitement as she listed off her favorite animated films, each more vibrant than the last. "I want to watch the one with the kitty who becomes a hero, The Adventures of Mr. Whiskers," she exclaimed, her hands flying in excitement. "Mr. Whiskers it is," Jake confirmed, catching her contagious smile. He released a sigh of relief, focusing on what mattered most, Lily's happiness. But his heart tightened as he returned his gaze to Caleb, who appeared from the shadows like a ghost of their past, uncertainty woven into his expression. "Do you really think we can make this work?" Caleb asked, his voice low, slicing through the laughter. Jake stood tall, considering the question that lurked beneath the surface, a battle not just for his own heart, but for Lily's future. "Honestly?" Jake's words came out steady but laced with remnants of doubt. "I'm scared, Caleb. I want to believe we can have an honest relationship, but there's still so much history between us." Caleb stepped closer, a look of determination crossing his face. "That history doesn't define us. We can either let it hold us back or use it as fuel to navigate a better future, together." Jake grappled with the pull of Caleb's words, a promise glimmering through the shadows of the past. He looked at Lily then, dancing with her friends and spinning under the colorful streamers, lost in her joyful world. "If you want to be part of her life," Jake started, his heart racing, "you need to show up. For real." Caleb nodded, his eyes earnest. "I'm here, Jake. Just give me a chance to prove it. I want to be there for both of you, to support you, through good and bad." Lily suddenly bounded back toward them, pastry crumbs lining her face, her grin wide. "Can we really have a cupcake party, please?" Jake chuckled and gazed at Caleb, feeling the weight between them shift. "Yes, we can. The more, the merrier." "Together," Caleb added, a small hope igniting in his eyes. Jake's breath hitched. Could this work? A small flicker of trust began to light in his heart. "Okay," he said, the word escaping like a lit spark, one step at a time. The three of them ventured toward the punch bowl disaster. As they cleaned up the colorful mess of spilled red liquid, an unexpected moment of connection formed. Jake purposefully handed Caleb the sponge, and for the first time, there was genuine laughter shared among them. "See?" Lily said, giggling at her father and Caleb as they both grimaced at the sticky punch. "You guys are a team already." As the evening progressed, the air thick with camaraderie and a hint of sweetness, Jake felt lighter than he had in a long time. Caleb integrated himself with ease, playfully wrestling with Lily and sharing shared exclamations of wonder as they watched her once more revel in bliss. Maybe this could work, Jake dared to think as he observed their little cupcake festivities. Finally, when the festivities slowed, Jake led Lily back to the dance floor. The music shifted into something slow and tender, a ballad floating through the air, wrapping around them like a warm hug. "May I have this dance, my cupcake queen?" he asked, settling his hands gently on her waist. "Only if you dance silly," she laughed, her face lighting up with mischief. As they twirled awkwardly on the floor, both of them grinning from ear to ear, Jake felt the barriers around his heart begin to dissolve. All his worries about the future faded in the warmth of the moment. And as he gazed over Lily's shoulder, He caught hold of Caleb, watching them, sharing in the joy. Jake's heart raced with possibility. This was the first step, not just toward forgiveness, but toward something new. A small family woven together through laughter, love, and a journey of healing. As the song ended and their embrace softened, Jake whispered softly to Lily, "Just remember, no matter what happens, I'll always be right here for you." "Me too, Daddy," she beamed brightly, melting his heart once again. The evening wrapped around them like a comforting blanket, filled with the laughter of children and the soft glow of hope. Whatever the future held, the road ahead may have twists and turns, uncertainty and doubt, but it was a journey worth taking, together, as a family. And in that moment, Jake realized this wasn't just a healing for him. It was an opportunity for everyone involved. Together, they could write a new story, one filled with grace and second chances. So, as he held Lily close and felt the warmth of a potential friendship rekindling with Caleb, a single thought rang clear through the rhythmic beat of the music. Here was love, and here was hope. And that was enough. If you're feeling this incredible journey of transformation and the hope for new beginnings, this is your moment to show support. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the magic alive. Comment your reactions and feelings about this amazing ending. And don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this beautiful transformation. True fans know how important it is to support the channel, so let's spread the love.